What's going on, Marines? We're back in with another video. In today's video, we obviously have the new MLB The Show feature premiere. Talks about a lot of things about the gameplay and a lot of changes that are coming to this game. So let's get right into it. First of all, they talked about the tech test. Obviously, the tech test, you can play all these changes tomorrow. So it'll be very interesting to get into that. They did talk about massive franchise changes. They only talked a little bit about it. They said there's going to be some massive franchise changes as well. But most of it was all about gameplay. So they talked about fielding, which you're seeing on your screen right now. There's new fielding animations. There's new fielding. There's this first start thing, so the better jump you get off the ball, the better chance you're actually going to be able to, get it and throw, which is the big thing they talk about. You can actually see it on a lot of these plays here. So that was one of the major things they talked about. They also talked about the throwing meter, so let's get into that next. So pretty much how this works is going to be very interesting. You can see as the throwing meter is now going to move to make the game more competitive. Now, personally, I'm kind of iffy on this. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if it's a good thing. You can see on some of these harder to get balls, the throwing meter moves. So to get it in that green, you'll still have a normal throw as before. If you get it in the yellow, it is all based on the first baseman's picking, like fielding attribute. So that's what the yellow is there for, and the red is obviously an error. So it's going to be a little harder. So if you have a bad first baseman with bad fielding, you hit it in the yellow, you're probably not going to get the out there. So it's going to be very interesting, as you could tell in some of these plays right here, that the first baseman's going to have a good fielding stat to be able to get that play. Hoskins doesn't, so he doesn't make the play. So it's very interesting. So you're going to have to be seeing on where that meter is. If it's obviously like a routine play, it's still going to be right in the middle like normal, but a harder play like that is going to be a little bit more to the right. So you're going to have to kind of make it, they're going to make it more competitive. You're going to have to kind of guess now on, where it is. Obviously, if it's a hard to get play, it's going to be far right. If it's right in front of you, it's going to be in the middle, for example. But they're making a little bit more challenge up to get the ball over to first base. So very interesting changes. Not sure how I feel about them yet. Kind of iffy on it, but I want to get into the game and actually experience it before I give my full opinions. Then they talk about the outfield fielding bar, so it's going to move too. So it's going to be a little bit interesting on the outfield. They didn't really talk about how it's going to affect it that much. If it's a harder to get ball, if it's going to move as much. Not really sure how that's going to work. Kind of just have to test it and see how it goes. But because Marsh gets right in front of this ball and it still moves far to the right, so I'm not really sure how it's going to work in the outfield. So then they go in and talk about the sweet spot stuff. So green obviously is going to be, good throw. The perfect obviously going to be perfect. Yellow is going to depend on the first baseman's attribute. Yellow is not in the outfield, for example. And then red's obviously an error. And this plays on the accuracy of fielding attribute. So if you have a good accuracy attribute, then that will be wider and everything like that. So interesting how it's going to work. I'm very excited to actually test it and get some gameplay with it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Tons of new changes to this fielding. So for a guy like Castellanos, this show right here, it's going to be harder to get some of those balls, where he's not the best of a fielder. So very interesting on the new fielding changes. We also got new quirks as well. So we got 4 new quirks in this game. Pickoff artist increases success rate of pickoffs. That's the one I don't like. And then performs better with no runners on base. Table setter is a pretty good one. And then the break outlier pitcher loses less break when they're tired. And then the bad base hitter is pretty much Gene Segura, hitting pitches outside the zone. So I think all these are good. The last one and the first one are kind of weird in my opinion, because the first one you can't control. So I don't know how that's going to work in my opinion. And then the fourth one's pretty terrible. So, yeah, we'll see. Because we're going to have a lot of Gene Seguras in this game, hitting pitches outside the zone and getting your team to a World Series. So, we'll see how that one works. But yeah, there are some new quirks. I wanted to mention that as well. And they also talked about the quirk stacking, and they got rid of some passive quirks. So, that's another thing they got rid of. But let's talk about these new clutch changes. So, pretty much, as you can see on your screen, Jazz Chisholm's got 90 clutch. So, how this is going to work is with runners on base. So, how this is going to work is the clutch attribute, which most guys have a really good clutch attribute in this game. With runners in scoring position, the hits per nine will be replaced with your pitching clutch, and then your contact versus righties and lefties will replace with your hitting clutch. So when you have someone on base, your clutch is what's going to matter in that at bat or when you're pitching. So if you have a really bad clutch stat, it's going to affect your chance to get some of these guys home, get some runs on the board. Same with pitching. You're going to give up a lot more runs because hits per nine is so important for pitchers. So I don't think the pitching, I don't think pitching is going to be that bad, because there are a lot of good pitchers with really good clutches. And then the contact might matter a lot. So we'll see how this changes. But if you have no one on base or anything like that, it's still going to be hits per nine versus contact. So that's kind of what it's going to be. But very interesting they're doing this. I think it does, I think it's going to think in your mind a lot more about which guys you're going to want on your team now. So I'm also glad that this is kind of happening. So I think this is a good change. All right, so now when you're pitching, you can actually click a button and it shows up both teams' quirks for that, at bat. So obviously you have some of the quirks for the pitcher, and then obviously Castellanos is the first pitch hitter. So, and these quirks stack as well. So that's something they wanted to talk about as well. So you now see the quirks which are going up against, which is pretty cool. And then they also talked about they're including StatCast into your at bats. So this is really interesting. You can now see a ton of advanced stat metrics. For example, the Phillies batting in this game has 100% contact. You know, they have a 0% whiff rate. They hit the ball hard. So you can also see versus your pitcher you're throwing with right now. So this is going to be very good and add a lot more strategy to the game. So I'm actually very happy StatCast is going to be an MLB The Show, because that's crazy. And you're going to definitely be able to have more strategy around this, because they want to make the game more competitive, which I personally love. And I think that's a phenomenal change they're making. StatCast will be used a lot when I'm playing, everything like that. So I'm very excited for that change. And here they go to talk about the swing analysis. So they've completely changed the swing analysis. So you can see right there that the swing timing is the first thing that matters when you're hitting in the hitting engine. So if you have good timing, that's the first thing it's going to look at for the hitting engine. Then next will be your PCI placement, and then after that will be the bar on the lower part, where it says contact perfect, you know, your exit velo, and then your launch angle. So this is kind of the new hitting format they've gone with. I think it's actually really good. I actually like this so far, because timing is really everything in every baseball game, anything you do. So then the PCI placement is next, which is nice, and then you have that bar. So that's kind of how they set it up and talked about it. So if you have bad timing, your result might get a hit if you have good PCI and a good contacts, but you know, it might go to like the right side of the field if you're late or early. You go to the left side of the field, you know what I'm saying, on where the pitch location is. So I think the hitting has definitely been improved a lot. They went really in depth in it more in the stream if you want to go check out the stream. But for the basic level, that's pretty much what you have to know about it. It's still the same. Still try to swing good timing, try to hit the ball right in the middle of the zone, and try to get that perfect. Alright, so MLB is putting the new rule changes into the actual MLB, which you guys know, which is the shift bands, which is going to reflect MLB The Show, which I like a lot. So the rule is you can't have anyone cross, second base. So these are the extreme shifts you can put on in the in-game settings. It will of course be on, that default shift, which is just, first is at first, second's at second, short at short, you know what I'm saying? But you can change it, obviously. So you can see right here, they have extreme left and extreme right. So you can still put a shift on, but it's just going to be a lot, easier to get a hit. But the guy up the middle is still going to be annoying, I know, for a lot of people, but we'll see how they impact. You could still put it on if you want. So the shift, it's not going to be as prevalent as it was at last year's show, but you can still put it on if you want. So this is another massive feature, which I'm thanking. They have ranked co-op now. So you can now play for a World Series reward in co-op. I am so excited for this feature. I've honestly been having really fun co-op last year. Now I'm able to play with you guys that are watching the videos. I can play with, friends on stream or whatever. We can have a lot more fun in co-op and actually work towards something. So this thing they said that would happen last year, and I'm very excited to see, ranked co-op, because there's so many opportunities with that. And I personally just can't wait to actually get in there, have some fun with it, and play some co-op. I think it's going to be really fun, and going to be just fun in general with your friends and everyone like that. So they've now added universal DH into MLB The Show. I thought they'd actually never add this in, to be honest. But you can now add universal DH. So you see Jock Pearson's your DH now. They also have this new nice screen as well, which is nice. And then you have esports eligible squad up there. So I think there'll be a lot more tournaments this year, because they're really trying to focus on that competitive aspect of MLB The Show, which I love. And they also had two-way players. It's already in the game, but if you look at Ohtani, his secondary positions are now left, center, and right. So these guys can actually be true two-way players, which is really sick. So you can now do like a double switch. So you can put Ohtani in, left, center, right, for example, and then put a new pitcher in for your current left, center, or right fielder. So I think this is a really cool change. Two-way players are officially really two-way players now. So as I was saying, I think they said Ohtani, and I think one of the Negro Leagues players is a two-way player as well. So excited to see, those two guys getting some love with the two-way player thing, and that's exciting overall. So that is pretty much the whole premiere. There was a lot talked about in this one. And it was a pretty good one, but the tech test starts tomorrow, so we will be live tomorrow for that. We'll be checking out everything they talked about in this stream as well. I'm so excited to get on that. It's the 15th through the 21st. We'll be playing a lot, playing on stream, having fun with you guys in the chat if you want to come through. And yeah, I can't wait to make some content on MLB The Show. I'm trying to play it for myself for once, so very excited to get into that tomorrow. And yeah, that was pretty much everything they talked about. The next one will be on Diamond Dynasty. So the next feature premiere. We don't know when it is yet, but it will be all on Diamond Dynasty, probably about new mechanics, how it works this year, you know, everything to go over like that. So excited to get to that next one. But yeah, gameplay was a really good one. This game is really seeing like one of my favorites right now. I mean, you got two good legends in Ian Kisler and Derek Jeter already in the game, and then you got the Negro League legends coming back, which are fire to get in the new game mode. Really good competitive gameplay changes, which I think, you know, it makes a good skill gap, so you can show who's the best player. And I think MLB The Show is, you know, on the up. I think they're gonna try to put a lot more esports integration, and we saw it at the top of the screen, which normally says tournament, you know, eligible, whatever. So I'm excited for MLB The Show this year. I think it's gonna be a great year, and we're starting off on the right foot. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Go check out all of their socials down below: my Twitter, my TikTok, and this YouTube channel. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's stream, because all you guys will be there in the next one. Peace out, everyone.